Oh, hi there. It's about darn time I thought that I would prepare a video review for my Creely Folklore Bushcraft knife. This knife truly has been my go-to belt knife for just general purposes for the better part of the last 9 months. These aren't cheap and there's some waiting and it's not super easy to get, so I always like to give things the full run before I let you know whether you should buy one or you should hit Gary up for one or get to thinking about getting one or whatever. Because the short answer is yeah, you should do all three of those things. These are bloody great. So this Folklore is a bushcraft knife with a Scandinavian grind, very traditional in appearance, but with the added modern benefit and creature comfort of it being in Magnacut blade steel. Probably the best general safe pick for a blade steel currently, regardless of the knife almost. It's definitely an industry leader at this time. The handles are in grey G10 and it comes with a basic leather sheath which I have tricked out with a dangler to make it carry just a little bit lower, as I like it.
Dangly ones.
So right now you probably have 3 questions for me. Do you seriously think you can save every chicken in the world by putting it at your house? Aren't you embarrassed wearing that stupid hat on video? And is Magnacut a good steel for a bushcraft knife? And the answer to all 3 questions is yes. But for the second question, it's more of a yes. Whenever a car drives past behind me, I hide behind the rainwater tanks. Alrighty, so I'm going to argue that the toughness of this knife has been proven over the months that I've been using it, but I also understand that you need something to see on the video. So this is a particularly shitty piece of red gum that's all twisted inside. It doesn't cut straight, it doesn't, it just took a whole bunch of battening to get it through, and as you can see, the knife gets through it, the knife hasn't exploded, and I've done this just several dozen times over the life of this knife. This is some more standard, I think spotted gum or something like that, just making kindling sticks and then moving inside later on to make a fire. I'm not the best at bushcraft, but I know that this knife is a pretty fine carver. It's got a really good, apexed edge that is holding really well because of the great steel. Let's talk a bit more about the steel now. Alright, so here we are with the scope going. We're going to check how the Scandinavian edge looks after all that, wood splitting and whatnot, just to sort of give you an idea of how durable it is. We'll start right down at the heel, right there. This is that part is not sharpened, the part on the left of your screen. And then we're going to move down the sharpened edge here of the Scandinavian grind. It's a tall bevel, so this is the bevel, 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 still bevel, still bevel, still bevel, and then into the flat there. So you can see it's just one giant V edge is what a Scandi grind is. And so we're going to go along it like this, and you see on a very small level there is the standard signs of wear. Right, so that's a very small little roughing there. And just moving down, still after all that work, and this is not a knife I've sharpened recently either, so it's got lots of other work on it too. So you're really seeing a pretty standard level of edge degradation that is not as exaggerated as lesser steels would likely be on a Scandi edge after being used for general chore purposes. I think Magnacut in this configuration should become the new default stainless bushcraft steel, as long as the retailer or the company doesn't see the word Magnacut and decide to charge $1,000 for it, because really Magnacut is very well proliferated now too, so it shouldn't be super expensive, just the presence of it in a knife anymore. We're getting towards the tip now, which is not going to look as grey, I don't think, because I'm pretty shit with my tips. There we go. It's not so bad, not so bad. That's the very, very tip of the knife there. And that's dulled off slightly, stuck into things. So yeah, overall, I did a rope test with this. It cut through the rope 300 times, and then it's finally stopped, and then I just stropped it back and it was fine. Yeah, the V-edge on a Scandi, like a Scandi V, isn't going to have like the long-term durability of like a V-edge, which has much more kind of meat behind it. Scandis get very delicate at the edge, but Magnacut is a steel that, just through its virtue of it being very tough, actually that leads to edge holding in especially acute, like more traditionally fragile edges like the Scandi. So I think it's pretty cool, and definitely should become a real kind of standard choice for a good bushcraft knife, stainless steel. Got no doubt Mora and everyone else is still going to be putting out their 14C28 ends. No issues with that at all, but would love to see this become like any, you know, Bark River type company making Scandinavian ground knives for a higher price. Go with Magnacut, without a doubt. If someone's still using S35VN, M390, Magnacut will do everything a bit safer, last longer on the edge, and have to be baby just a little bit less. As I said, I've been using this as a utility knife, not even as a bushcraft knife. If you see me do bushcraft, I suck at bushcraft. You suck! And so I've just been using this for about everything else, and it's held up great. Yeah, nah, the music stopped matching when my gym short knees entered the frame. So yeah, absolutely makes fire, no worries at all. The spine is super sharp, throws sparks, all that good stuff. I've actually never really made my house fires without the use of a knife. And when I think about it, I guess what do normal people do? And I guess normal is very relative. But like normal people must, they use like a lighter and like a little fire starting cube or something? Or do they use people use dry lint? I don't know. This is what I've always done. Maybe everyone just starts their fire with like a cigarette lighter or a match, I guess, and the newspaper. This is because I've been into knives as long as I've lived in houses with fireplaces. This is legitimately what I do, and I'm not even doing it for a video. This is it. So with regard to strength testing this blade, I thought I would indulge in some uncoordinated, untrained knife throwing, which is possibly the worst thing you can do to a knife, because even if you're trained, it's not good for the knife. And when you're untrained, it means that this is probably going to smash into a piece of wood with every part of it except for the tip. So it's going to be great. I can't even throw and catch balls properly, let alone knives. So that will show you how this thing will, I guess, hold together. Let's get into it. Sorry, Gary. Well, I'm pretty happy to say that all that really did was loosen up the handle scales a little bit, which is something that could obviously be screwed back together. So I thought I may as well take the chance to undo the handles entirely and show you what's going on underneath the knife. So disassembly time. I don't really feel right calling it a disassembly when it's literally just taking the handle scales off, but there you go. So these guys are just standard hex heads. What number? These would be 3/32, I reckon, hex heads. Yep, there we go. So that's what you're looking at underneath the knife's clothes. You've just got a very slim, I guess, for slightly lightening, there. Not really a cavity as much that you could fit anything into. If you're after sort of stocking it with survival gear, you could keep maybe a single fishing hook or a piece of tinder or something in there. But yeah, really, it's just got your tube, you've got your screws, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. Simple as that. Very, very robust and rugged design, really. Some knives just have these two bits, but they do get a bit handle heavy. That's, I guess, taking a little bit of the weight out of the handle. So there you go. That's what the Creely Blades Folklore looks like without its pants on. And of course, the handles are back to being not even budging. So there we go. Ergonomically speaking, a very comfortable barrel style, simple handle, some slight palm swelling going on, rounded corners, nice shoulders, fits into about any hand for a long duration of time. Some knives feel initially comfortable, but as you start wailing on stuff or twisting it around in your hand, they grow less comfortable. Not this guy, super simple, it's all you need, just a nice basic handle with no finger grooves or anything like that. Look, the only slight oddness about this knife is this point here. I'm not sure what it's for. You could probably use it to strike the ferro rod, keeping your tip down. It is sharpened off, like it doesn't have soft edges or anything. It's a bit small to be a finger choil. I think what it does is just enable you to sharpen it without eating up on your sort of the handle there with your sharpening stone or whatever. And it probably does make the knife easier to produce and sharpen, owing to whatever machines are being used. But apart from being a little bit odd looking, it's not really doing anything wrong. I just thought I'd bring it up because people generally do ask. I've seen it mentioned a couple of times in the comments. So overall, I really do love my Creely Folklore. It feels just like a special knife. And it's the kind of knife where, hey, the sharpening people might notice I'm lifting up my elbow now. Huh? I listen. It's the kind of knife where I think it is warranted to get a bit more of like a heritage kind of piece. The Bushcraft knife is something that is a little bit more, I don't know, special. It's more palatable to me anyway, to get something that's going to be heirloomish. And I reckon going with like a small maker, making it largely from scratch is a really cool idea. I'm sure he does some, uses some machines to cut the blade blanks or whatever, but it's all, a lot of control and a lot of sort of love going into the process. And I think this roll of knife is something that's really kind of worth that kind of a little extra bit of cost and specialness going into it. It's even got me like stone sharpening again, because I want to kind of maintain it in that Scandinavian edge without it getting, you know, Scandi vexed as best as I can anyway. I'm sure I'm slightly doing that anyway, but look, overall, this knife to me feels very special. And I think if you were to put your name down for one, when it arrived to you, I think it would also feel special to you as well. So, Creely Folklore, I don't know, it's special to me. I like it a whole bunch. I recommend it. It's technically a great knife, and also in the less tangible sense, it's a really nice knife to have as well. So, I like it. I reckon you'd like it. The steel's great. The ergos are great. Overall, it's a bloody win. Thanks, Gary, for sending me the knife to have a play with. And I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.